Hey folks, welcome back to Success Sells. Today we're going to practice what we learned so far in the Excel Basics series by creating a gift list. You can use what we're doing here for a gift list, a shopping list, and maybe even a product list, but follow along with me and get some practice. Let's start by opening up a new workbook in Excel by clicking File, New. I already have mine open here. Then we want to add some titles to the spreadsheet. Remember, any titles you use or subtitles should be as brief and meaningful as possible. The titles you use for your columns and your rows let the person looking at the spreadsheet easily identify the information that they're looking at. Our titles create organization on the spreadsheet. Let's start by selecting cell A1 and typing gift list. You can then press enter on the keyboard or tick the check mark here on the formula bar, whichever you feel most comfortable with. This is our spreadsheet title. Now let's enter some column titles. In cell A3, type name, tab, and then hit tab on the keyboard. You could also just click on B3 to select it. And then type amount. So what we're going to do here is make a list of names and what we spent on each gift. In this case, I'm making a list of my puppies. So I'm going to select cell A4 and type in Maddie, hit enter, Spades, enter, Hercules, and Marco. These are my 4 fur babies. Now let's enter what I spent on each one of them. 35, 18, 56, and 20. Now I'm not crazy about how these numbers look. I want them to look like currency. So let's select these amounts, B4 through B7, and then click the dollar sign or accounting icon here. Let's make a row for the total. A8, in A8 I should say, let's put total. Tab. You can hit tab on your keyboard to go over to the cell to the right. You can also just click on B8 and select it. Now what I want to do is tell Excel to add up these amounts so I can get a total of what I spent. I want Excel to do the work for me, so if I update these numbers, the total will update automatically. To do this, I'm going to select cell B8 and then type equal. I also could have selected the cell and then clicked on function here in the formula bar. And then I want to tell Excel to add some cells together, or sum them. So after I have the equal sign, I'm going to type sum, S-U-M. That tells Excel what I want to do. But now I have to tell it which cells I want it to add, or sum. So to group these cells together, we hug them with parentheses. One before the cell names and one after. So after the equal, I type sum, S-U-M, and then open parentheses. Next, I'm going to select cells B4 through B7. Take a look at the formula as we're going along here. The equal sign says, hey Excel, do something. Sum tells it what I want it to do, and the parentheses say which cells I want it to do it to. After I finish selecting the cells, I have to type a closed parentheses. See the cells hugged by the parentheses here? We call this a range in Excel. A range is a group of cells. That's it. Put that one in your toolkit too. Range equals group of cells. Now I can change any of these numbers above and the total will update for me. So let's change Hercules to 60. See the total? And Marco to 27. Excel takes care of this for us. Now, this is a small list, right? But imagine if you had 50 people or 100 items on your grocery list. This could be daunting. And the dollar sign carries through too. Thanks, Excel. I use sum in almost every spreadsheet that I work in. It's the most used formula in Excel, but it's definitely not the only one. Below, let's create a quick summary. We want a summary that tells us the most expensive gift, the least expensive gift, and on average what we spent. So to start, let's give these amounts some titles. Let's click on A10 and type most expensive gift. Now you see how the text overflows into the cell next to it? It makes it kind of look like it's covering more than one column, right? Let's double click this line between columns A and B. Next, let's type least expensive gift in cell A11 and then average gift in A12. We're going to use formulas to do these because, like I said before, I want Excel to update these numbers if I change any of the amounts above, just like it did the total line. So in B10, type equal. And for this one, we're going to type max because we want the highest amount listed here. MAX. Open parentheses. And then again, we're going to select the amounts here above in this cell range. Be careful not to include the total. That sometimes happens. If you accidentally do, just click escape on the upper left-hand side of your keyboard. Then select B10 again and restart your formula. To end the formula, type close parentheses and then hit enter. Excel gives us the price of the most expensive gift, just like we wanted. But clearly we have favorites here. Now let's figure out what the least expensive gift is. In B11, type equal min, M-I-N. That's the formula for the lowest number. Makes sense, right? Maximum, minimum. Then let's type open parentheses and select the amounts range again. Close parentheses, enter. Excel continues to do the work for me. Lastly, let's get the average. In cell B12, type equal. And for average, we're going to type the whole word average. Open parentheses, select your cells, and then close parentheses. That's our average price for gift. Now it's a small list, right? The least expensive gift and most expensive gifts, they're pretty easy to see. But imagine if you had a really long list and how these tools could be helpful. Now let's just fancy up this bottom section a little bit. First, let's give it a title. Click on row 10. This selects the entire row. Now, hover your mouse over the number 10 and click on it. If you have two mouse buttons on your mouse, right-click on it, and then select Insert Row. This inserts a new row above the row that was selected. So really what we did was create a new row 10. Now, in A10, the new A10, let's type summary. But maybe I want summary to be centered across columns A and B. So let's select A10 and B10. And then click on this icon right here, Merge and Center. Take a look at what happened. Excel centers whatever information was listed in the first cell selected. And to make it stick out a little bit more, let's italicize it. With A10 still selected, click on this icon right here. It's a capital I, but it looks a little slanted. Now let's also take a look here. See how max was in cell B10 before, but now it's in B11? When we inserted a row, Excel updated all my formulas for me. These two too. Sometimes we had borders around things to make them stand out, so let's try that. Let's select cells A10 through B13. And then let's click on this little drop-down arrow where we can view border options. Let's put a thick border around this entire thing. When I click outside of the area, I can see the border a little bit better. that looks good. So now let's increase the size of the sheet title. It only makes sense that it's larger than everything else, right? So let's click on cell A1 and then click on this drop down list here and pick a different size. Let's do 36. You can also, with the cell selected, you can just double click in here, type a number on your keyboard and press enter, and Excel will update the font size to that number. Now let's highlight cells A8 and B8 and give it a border at the top. So there's just a few things I want to note before we end this video. First is that you can type formulas in either lowercase or uppercase or a combo of the three, and Excel will always look at it the same, so long as it's after the equal sign. So don't really worry about that. Second, in the formula bar, there is a name box here at the front, all the way to the left. When you click on different cells, the box here updates with the cell's name. So if you're ever wondering, maybe your vision's a little blurry that day, or you're just having trouble figuring out where a column and a row meet, you can click on it and look at this name box and know which cell it is. Now, click here where we merge cells. Note that when merged together, it's just A10. Now, there's no more B10 on this spreadsheet. You can also type a cell's name in the name box and hit enter on your keyboard, and Excel will select that cell for you. And lastly, after you type equal in a cell, in place of the name box, a formula box comes up. Now take a look at the short list of formulas listed. We will learn more about this box in the formula series, but feel free to try clicking on a few and see what happens. Don't be afraid. You've learned more than enough to get around in Excel so far. So experiment, practice writing formulas correctly, and even incorrectly on purpose, just to see what happens. If you stuck with me, the gift list allowed you to practice everything you learned so far in the Excel Basics series, and you even learned a few new things today. If you're following along with the series, save this spreadsheet because we will come back to it when we practice again in part 8, after I show you a few more things. Until next time, take care.